And as the wintry weather starts to move in, CAA is reminding people to be ready for driving in less than ideal conditions. And we're joined live right now by Kaitlynn Furse, Director of Communications for CAA South Central Ontario. Kaitlynn, good morning. Thank you very much for taking time, to speak with us. So earlier this week, we talked about getting your car ready for the winter weather. Now we got to talk about getting you ready. So what does that consist of?
It is time to get yourself and your car ready for winter driving. Unfortunately, those snowflakes are going to come sooner rather than later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And there's a few things that you want to have in your car.
And so along with that, we're talking about just have a bag. It doesn't matter any kind of bag. This is like your Halloween bag. So it just doesn't matter. Just have a bag. So now we're going to talk about the stuff to put in the bag.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
You really want to have an emergency kit all year round. But in the winter, it's especially important because you want to be able to keep yourself warm if you're outside for longer than you anticipate. Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, you want to have a blanket, a hat, and some mitts.
Okay.
Extra.
And when talking about, just kind of point to it so that we can kind of actually know exactly what we're talking about.
Sure.
So a blanket, a toque,
Yeah.
and gloves.
So anything extra to keep yourself warm. Sometimes we jump into the car and we don't have the adequate sort of materials because we don't expect to be outside. So keeping that in a bag just to have as extra is great.
Okay.
You also want to have an extra phone charger, as you can see over here with a USB, so that you can charge your phone. Again, if you forget and your phone's not charged, you want to make sure that you can reach someone if you need to.
Okay. And what other items do we have?
So those are kind of the warmth and safety factors.
Okay.
Food is also important, so non-perishable food right here. Some water that you'd have to replenish, obviously, each time.
But the thing with the water is going to be frozen if we have it in the car.
Yeah.
So is there a way around it, a workaround?
So just to remind yourself each time when you go to have some water in the car and bring it with you because it will get frozen, obviously, over time.
Okay. And what else do we have here?
So some key basic safety things. So you want to have, obviously, some warming mitts, poncho should you have to go outside, things to keep yourself visible. So, glow sticks or a flashlight with extra batteries should you be in the dark and want to make yourself really seen to others.
Do you recommend glow sticks over flares?
Well, I think they serve different purposes. Having a glow stick on or some sort of visibility factor on your body, if you're in the winter and it's dark outside, you're on the side of the road, that's obviously different than having a flare that you kind of put up, for example.
All right, good to know. And then jumper cables, I'm not kidding here, but like we still use jumper cables?
So we actually don't recommend that you use them yourself if you can avoid it. But obviously in an emergency, having to use that if you're on the side of the road, fine. The reason is because these days computers are all through our vehicles and you can kind of short circuit those if you don't know how to do it properly. So we recommend calling CAA, of course. We can come do that for you, but it is good to have just in case.
Okay, and then we have, this may be obvious, a shovel. See, that's how often I use those. A shovel and then an actual brush.
Yeah, and this one's really great actually because it's long and it's kind of telescopic, so you can use it on the top of your vehicle, making sure that you're always taking all of the snow off the top of your vehicle so it doesn't blow onto others while you're driving. And this shovel's great because it actually comes apart into 3 pieces, so you don't have to have a giant shovel in your trunk.
And a whistle?
Anything that will help you be visible, seen, or heard in the event of an emergency is great. Again, it's darker in the winter time. We need to make sure that we can be, found where we are.
And I see there's a toy, a couple books.
So again, this is something I always keep in my emergency kit because I have 2 young kids. So you never know when, delayed, etc. Having some extra books and a fidget toy or something like that to help entertain them while you're waiting for assistance is always a good thing.
And then one more final thing. This is pretty important here.
Yeah, so making sure that we top up our fluids. This is winter washer fluid. Checking all of that out in your overall health of your vehicle. A lot of people don't realize, but close to 80 to 90% of our calls are due to things like breakdowns and mechanical issues like that. So really making sure that your car is ready to go and everything's topped up is key. And
so big takeaways from this: have a winter bag, make sure that there's a blanket, an extra toque, gloves, food. Food is very, very important, and stuff for the kids as well.
Yeah.
And then water, replenish it.
Just being prepared, ready to go.
Be prepared. Okay, and so as we wrap up, let's just kind of talk about some driving tips and, also just staying safe.
Sure. The most important thing is giving yourself extra time. So, it takes longer to get places in the wintertime, taking that snow off your car, for example, warming up the vehicle a tad. So the more time you give yourself, the less rushed you're going to be when you are out on the road. And that driver behavior is key. So giving yourself lots of space, making sure you're driving according to the conditions on the road, those are really important basic things, but they can go a long way.
And then if you are in the unfortunate event of being an fender bender during the wintertime in the snow, all of this can actually help. And what else do you have to say?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the big thing is keeping safety top of mind early and before you leave the house, and then being prepared for when you are out there, just in case something happens that you don't expect.
All right, Kaitlynn Furse, Director of Communications for CAA South Central Ontario. Thank you very much for your advice and your time on this Sunday morning. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.